This tutorial will show you how to multiply any whole number by powers of 10 and how to do it the proper way so that you don't become confused and learn bad habits in maths. Firstly, what are powers of 10? We're talking about things like 10 to the power of 2 or 10 squared or 10 cubed or 10 to the power of 4, 10 to the power of 1, 10 to the power of 0. In other words, mostly in this level of maths, we're talking about things like 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, those sorts of things. So multiplying any whole number by those. Okay. This is one thing I'd like you to remember. I know for sure somewhere along the line somebody would have said to you, oh, it's easy. When you multiply by 10, just add a 0. I want you never to say, just add a 0. I want you never to say, when you multiply by 100, just add 2 zeros. Don't do that. It just will confuse you and create problems later with your maths learning. And I'm going to show you why. Here's the first reason. If you say 4 times 10, okay, just add a 0. Let's do it. There's 4. Just add a 0. Can you see what happens? It looks like the number is getting bigger to the right. That 4 has not moved. And when you multiply a 4 by 10, it doesn't stay where it is, it moves. So compare that. 4 times 10 is 40 to 4 times 10 is 40. Can you see that the 4 actually moves to the left? So you're not just adding a 0, you're moving the 4 and putting a 0 where it used to be. Here's another reason that it really makes me grumpy when people get taught just add a 0. We're going to do 3.65 times 10. Let's just add a 0. All right, there's 3.65. Just add a 0. Oh dear. Well, 3.65 and 3.650 are pretty much the same thing. So it doesn't work, does it? And that is why I do not like it when students are taught to just add a 0. We're going to be looking at multiplying any whole number. This is all about whole numbers. So you will see I have a grid here for you. There's the decimal point. We're going to ignore all of these things for this session. For this tutorial, we're only looking at whole numbers. I have another video called How to Multiply Any Decimal by Powers of 10. You can look at that later. So we're going to be focusing on the things on the left of the decimal point, in other words, the whole numbers. So we'll just get rid of those columns for now. We know they're there. We'll add some more though. Put some more columns in because we might want more. Can you see I've still got the decimal point there, even though we don't need it. The other thing I'm going to do to make it easier for us, between the hundreds and the thousands, I'm going to put a marker. When you write numbers, you would often leave a space there or put a comma. And I'm going to do the same between the 100,000s and the millions. If you're not sure about that, see my video entitled How to Read Whole Numbers. Okay, so I've set the grid up nicely for us to start working. There it is without those markers. There it is with the markers. Remember, there are columns to the right. We're just not using them now. Those are the fractions. Okay, we're going to have a look at an example here. 56 times 10. Now let's do this the proper way. Let's write the 56 where it should go. It is 5 10s and 6 1s, so it goes beautifully in there. Just next to the decimal point, you see the 6. Could I leave that decimal point out? Yes, you could. I like to have it there because I really like students to remember that numbers like this have a decimal point. Okay, what needs to get 10 times bigger? The 5. So there it goes. The 6. There it goes. And now we do have a problem that if we remove this grid, it will look like it hasn't changed. It will still look like 56. So we need to put a 0 in there to make sure that we know that 6 is not in the ones column anymore, but it's in the tens column. So that 0 just sort of helps us see that. The answer is 560. Or 560.0, but we're not really worrying about fractions today. So we'll just leave that out. 27 times 100. Okay, here we go. 27 times 100. First thing we've got to do is put the 27 in the right place. Now, when something becomes 100 times bigger, isn't that the same as becoming 10 times bigger and then 10 times bigger again? It definitely is. Right, so let's start with the 2. Let's make it 10 times bigger and then 10 times bigger again. And let's do the 7. 10 times bigger, 10 times bigger again. And you've probably seen what has to happen. If we took this grid away, we'd have a problem because it would look like 27 and then a big space and a decimal. So we put the zeros in there to show that the 2 and the 7 have moved. All right, so 2,700, and there is the line between the 2 and the 7. When you write this number without this grid, it would be written like that. There's the space where that line was. You could put a comma there, but I think having spaces is way better than comma. It's just personal opinion. 2,700.0. But again, don't worry about the decimal point and the 0 because we're not really focusing on fractions. 2,340 multiplied by 10. We've got to put the 2, the 3, the 4, and the 0 in the right places. There they go. And we'll start with the 2. It's going to become 10 times bigger. The 3 needs to become 10 times bigger. The 4 needs to become 10 times bigger. And the 0, now here's the interesting thing. What is 0 multiplied by 10? It's still 0, isn't it? So it's a tricky thing. It actually, we end up having to put a 0 there anyway, so it kind of looks like that 0 there has jumped. But it hasn't really, because 0 times a million is still 0. And we need to put a 0 in there so that we show that there is nothing in the tens column. 23,400, written like that. 23,000 space and 400. Right, here we go on to the next one. 23 times 1,000. Okay, now we need to put the 23 in the correct place. And the 2 and the 3 are going to become 1,000 times bigger. Now at this point, some of you might be going, yeah, I can see this. Why do I have to do the 2 and then the 3? Well, you don't. But this is just for people who really want to understand how this works. To multiply by 1,000, we are going to make the number 10 times bigger, another 10 times bigger, and then another 10 times bigger, because 10 times 10 times 10 is 1,000. That's 10 times bigger, 100 times bigger, and 1,000 times bigger. Another 3, 10 times bigger, 100 times bigger, and 1,000 times bigger. And yes, you know what to do. We have to show that the hundreds, the tens, and the ones column are all empty, so we need to put zeros in there. Without the grid, remember where this line is, you'll see the space, 23,000. 5,076 times 100. See, there's a space there. It shouldn't be there. Oh, it's gone. So 5,076 in the correct place. And we need to make each one of those digits 100 times bigger. So that's 10 times and then 10 times again. Starting with a 5, 10 times bigger, 10 times bigger again. Now, here's the interesting thing. You would think we now need to go to the 0, but remember, if you take this 0 and you make it 10 times bigger, it's still 0. Some of you might have picked up that you can move it anyway. You could jump it twice anyway. just to make it easier. But let's just carry on with what I'm trying to teach you here. We can ignore the 0 because 0 times anything is 0. Okay. 7, 10 times bigger, 10 times bigger. And the 6, 10 times bigger, 10 times bigger. And now here's the old story. We have 2 columns here with nothing in them. And we also have a column over here that should have something in it, or else it will look like the 5 and the 7 are next to each other. So we put those there and we put that one there. 507,600. 456 times 100. Okay, we've got to put the 4 and the 5 and the 6 in the correct places. The 4 needs to jump. Ready? How many times? 2 jumps. 10 times bigger, 10 times bigger. The 5, 10 times bigger, 10 times bigger. The 6, 10 times bigger, 10 times bigger. And if we took the grid away, we'd have 456 and then a big space. So we need to remember to put the zeros in there. You might wonder why I'm taking so much time showing you digits jumping to the left. It's so that the number concept in your head is developed very, very clearly. Later on, you won't take this long and you won't take this amount of time. You'll just be able to do it really quickly. And the answer there, 45,600. 45,600. 9,050 times 1,000. Okay, let's put the 9,050 where it belongs. Everything has to get 1,000 times bigger. So 10 times, 10 times, 10 times. Here we go. 10 times bigger, 10 times bigger, and 10 times bigger. Again, here's that thing with the 0. We're going to ignore the 0 for now. Although you might later say, I am going to move the 0 straight away because it's easier, but I'm not making it bigger. I know that I'm probably going to have to put one there in the end anyway. 5. Here we go. 10 times bigger, 10 times bigger, 10 times bigger. So I've made the 9 and the 5 1,000 times bigger. Now I've got big holes everywhere, so I need to fill them up with zeros. And so my number will be 9,050,000. That's it. 9,050,000. Now think about that. If you really understood that and you're 100% ready to try some on your own, we'll move on. You will need a pencil and a piece of paper or pen and paper or a whiteboard and marker. You might want to pause the video now and get something to drink and have a walk around and get some oxygen in your head so that you can come back and focus on the examples. If you didn't quite get that, don't go any further. Go back and watch this video again. Right, pause the video now, get ready. Here we go. These examples for you to do. What will happen is I'll put something up on the screen, you pause the video, and when you're ready, you just continue. 97 times 10. Pause the video and continue when you're ready. 970. Well done. 75 times 100. Pause the video and continue when you are ready. 7,500. If you didn't have this gap here, you're not wrong, but it's way better to have that gap. 7,420 times 100. Pause the video and when you're ready, resume. 742,000. And having that gap there is important, although it doesn't make your answer wrong. You can also have a comma in there. If you like using commas, do that. I prefer spaces. 74 times 100. Pause the video and resume when you're ready. 7,400. 804 times 100. Pause the video and resume when you're ready. 80,400. 102 times 1,000. Pause the video and when you are ready, resume. 102,000. 302 times 100. Pause the video, resume when you're ready. 30,200. 1,254 times 100. Pause the video, get your answer, and then mark it. 125,400. 6,015 times 1,000. Pause the video once again, and when you're ready, resume. 6,015,000. 40 times 100. Pause the video and continue when you're ready. 4,000. 702 times 100. Pause once again and resume when you're ready to mark. 70,200. 23,046 times 100. Pause and resume when ready. 2,304,600. 20,046 times 10. Pause the video, resume when ready. 200,460. 4,005 times 100. Pause and resume when ready. 400,500. 5,008 times 1,000. Pause and resume when ready. 5,008,000. 87,108 times 100. Pause and resume when ready once again. 8,710,800. 72 times 10,000. Pause, resume when you're ready to mark. 720,000. 4,056 times 100. Same thing again, pause and resume. 405,600. 304,502 times 10. Pause the video, resume when ready. 3,045,020. 570 times 100. And this is the last one. So pause, and when you're ready to mark, continue. 57,000. Well done. If you got all of those correct, you've really got it. If not, you may want to go back and watch the video again and try the examples over and over again till you get them all right. Remember, don't just finish this video and say, I've done it. You actually need to be able to do all of those examples to say that you've mastered this skill.